Hey all, I wanted to give a quick rundown of how to use the GWNNSH travel tripod for people who may be new to these types of tripods or maybe a little confused on how to use this specific tripod. It actually came packaged with this nice bag, nice travel bag to kind of keep it padded, so that if you throw it in a bag or you keep it in a drawer or something like that, the tripod itself doesn't get all banged up. And it'll come like this. It'll come folded, specifically with the legs inverted. So the first step to kind of use this specific tripod is pull down each of the specific legs to the opposite direction. So you will move each one of these down into these different clicking sections. For most shooting, I put it all the way to the bottom section so that you can get the most height out of it. But to just adjust these, all you have to do is push down a little bit, pull out this locking mechanism, and then go to your desired length. The wider, the more stable, but the more height you lose also. So some specific things to kind of play with or use when you're originally starting. This tripod is a ball tripod mount, so it gives you pretty good roaming and pretty good freedom of how you control your camera specifically. It also comes with this nice removable plate that you can kind of quick change, or you can get a few of them and have them on multiple cameras and things like that. So going through the first steps, we unlock the legs. This middle portion is the next kind of thing you want to take a look at for height adjustment. This bottom one moves the whole pole up and down, and then there's a second pole that's actually hidden within the first one. That gives you even more height if you want to get even taller. Depending upon the shooting, I don't necessarily pull out the smaller one just because the more height, the more unstable. So if you want to get a higher position, it's good to kind of use that one, but I'll usually leave it kind of in this setup and then extend the legs when I go to do that. So just to extend legs, you just move these tabs, kind of pull it out. You can see it kind of extends, and then you just kind of try to make your setting as flat as possible, and you can kind of see your setting of how flat you are based upon this little bubble level right here. So as close as you can to get to center is how even your camera will be when you're shooting. So before we get to the ball head, let's take a look at the quick plate. You just want to unlock that top screw. You can see it's got a nice little turning mechanism there. Let me grab my camera real quick. So what you'll do is, most cameras have this specific bolt setting. You just kind of screw the plate into that specific spot. You'll want to get it nice and centered. Lock it down nice and tight, but not too tight where you can't get it off later. And then you just bring it back up here. Make sure that these little nubs in here go into those specific holes just so it doesn't slide in and out. And then tighten that one real good, because you don't want to have the camera kind of fall out while you're using it. So the first step for adjusting I like to do after that is kind of loosen both of these, but make sure you have a good handle on the camera. These are your two main ball adjustments. You can see when they're loosened, the camera moves freely. If I set it down, it won't hold itself up. So the first thing I like to do is take the one with the numbers and give it a nice slight tightening. This gives it the ability to still move a little bit, but won't let your camera fully fall over. So you can adjust kind of semi-easily, but don't risk losing your whole camera by falling off. And then when I'm going to shoot, I fully lock down this other one. And now this isn't going anywhere. This is pretty stable. I would trust the camera to be pretty sturdy on this, as locked in as it is. And then you have another knob over here on the left, the smaller knob that's lower, and this is for your horizontal panning. So if you're doing video or something similar, it gives you the ability to kind of do a nice stable horizontal turn. If you're doing panoramas, it's great for that also, or just in general want to get a few different shots, very similar height, but don't want to have to move the head as a whole. This is a great little feature for that, where you don't lose the camera's height, you just pivot it horizontally. So those are some cool little features for this. Let's take a look at some other features that this camera has, or this tripod has. Let's take this off real quick. Another cool one is the ability to actually flip this entire middle portion upside down. So what you'll do is there's this little screw on the bottom. This is also for counterweight. So if you have a bag or something and it's a windy day, it's good to kind of hang something here, and it keeps everything kind of sturdy. You don't have to use that, but it's just one more way to kind of sturdy your camera. You take this specific thing off. It's a little bolt in a rubber gasket. And then once it's all the way unscrewed, you pull it out, and you can unscrew this, and then the whole thing comes out, this whole middle portion where the ball head is. And this is great if you want to do real close-ups or something real close to the ground. You can actually get that locked in upside down, which is really cool. So you can have this camera mounted upside down under here, and you can get something really close up. So if you're doing macro photography, that's really good for that. But you will have to invert your photos later after doing that. So let's get this back into the normal settings. There's actually another thing I could show you right now while I have this part out. So this is going to be also a part of your monopod. So this screw that holds the weight, the counterweight, actually also holds normal tripod or camera bolt. So this leg with the padding on it specifically is what you'll use if you want to use it in monopod mode. So this gives you the ability, if you might not be able to get somewhere where you can set up a whole tripod but still give you some stability. You get this little tool bag with a Allen key and the bolts you'll need to turn this into a monopod. So you'll grab this little bolt and you'll tie it into both sides. And you'll tighten it on this side. And this will give you a nice, actual, really tall monopod. And you still have the ability to unscrew this and bring this up even further. And you can kind of use this to hold your camera steady if you don't want to use a whole tripod. And then you can go in and kind of get some stable shooting. This is great for sports and things like that, where you need to get some stability, but you want to be able to kind of pivot quickly, keep everything steady, but while you're taking pictures, keep things real steady. And this is actually a nice long monopod. So if you extend everything on this, I'd say it's about 5.5 feet all the way open, but it gives you nice steady monopod. Nice long, good length monopod, which is nice, and it saves you from having to buy a whole nother monopod, which is what I used to have before this. So it gives you the ability to kind of have both, which is great. So let's take this back out, reassemble, and show you how to close it back up. So you'll just come in here, and if you didn't want the super long monopod, there's also a bolt under the ball head. Here, I'll show you real quick by doing this. You can plug this directly into that shorter monopod, and that gives you the ability to have a shorter monopod and kind of really get up on this grip. But in general, the longer the monopod, the better chance you'll have of getting somewhere where you can use it comfortably. So let's get this back in here. So this all just screws back into this middle portion. Let's get it all the way down. And then for this, we need to take this screw back out. For this, I would just keep this in some part of your camera bag, that one screw and the Allen key. Allen key is to kind of adjust these types of things if they're getting too loose from too much use, or they came too tight. One of mine actually came probably like a quarter turn too tight, so I just loosened it so that I could more easily move these legs. But in general, it's a really good tripod, especially for what it costs. It's really stable. And let's show how to just take the camera off and refold the legs. So just take this off and unscrew this. This is really nice. Some camera manufacturers now are actually using Allen keys for this, which isn't the best, because I personally use a grip when I'm not using a tripod. So if I have to use an Allen key, then I have to also carry an Allen key, as opposed to just these quick screws. But it's nice to have the ability to kind of use this D-ring and kind of loosen it if you need to. And tighten that back up. So now everything is kind of set. You just come in again, you loosen these up. And before we do that, let's push this up so that it's all hidden. And put this screw back in. Put that rubber gasket in first, then the screw, tighten this down, and this gasket helps it so that it doesn't just completely go off when you're loosening this bigger pole. It'll stop it from completely coming off. So you just loosen it, tighten it back down, and then we take all 3 legs, take them all the way past that top position, slide them up. You will have to adjust this slightly just so everything can kind of lay flat. See kind of how it's sticking out a little bit because of this portion right here, and this knob. So the easiest way to do that is kind of just adjusting this horizontal one, and you just find the spot that fits best for all of these specific legs. I found some spots work better than others, like this one, and then you just bolt that horizontal back down. And that keeps everything nice and steady. You can see that they're all kind of hitting this thing too. I found that if you slide that up just a little bit so it can sit between the different legs, you can get it a little bit closer and get it more tightly packed. But it all fits back in this nice package. Fits in a lot of camera bags because it's so small, so stable, so sturdy. All aluminum, metal. Rubber feet are nice too. And just a little tiny bit of plastic just where the housing and the clamps are. But overall, for the price, I don't know if you could find a better, more versatile tripod. Thanks.